All 6 contenders for the European Call of Duty World League Stage 2 Finals have been announced, and in a 2-part FPS breakdown, I will give you analysis of each and every roster, about their strengths and their weaknesses and what you should expect from the likes of Hyper Games, Infused, Splice, Millenium, Supremacy, and Epsilon Esports. These teams will head to California on July 14th to battle it out for their share of $168,000 in a single elimination best-of-7 tournament. You can be sure to catch all the action on Call of Duty's official twitch.tv page, as well as Call of Duty's YouTube page, and all the coverage and recaps right here on PvP Live. So if you're unfamiliar with the European Call of Duty World League scene and you'd like some more analysis and insight on the rosters, you came to the right place. That happens to be exactly what I do. We will go in ascending order, starting with Team Supremacy. This French roster of Xerox, Vortex, Maxi, and Malls are currently 9-8 in the Call of Duty World League, and they have struggled pretty heavily against the top tier of competition in Europe, with their only victory being against a weakened Millenium. On this roster, look for a player like Malls to be a very strong primary AR for this team in respawn game modes, but if you're looking for an aggressive AR player, look no further than Xerox, who currently has the highest KD for everybody on this roster in game modes like Uplink and CTF. He is a huge threat in that regard. Up next, we have Team Millenium, our Stage 1 playoffs champions, with the roster of Swanee, Jerd, Madcat, and Tommy. Currently, they're at a very mediocre and honestly unacceptable and underwhelming 6th place in the Call of Duty World League. Upon formation of this roster, people labeled them as a God Squad, and rightfully so, because they were just that for a very long period of time. This roster is filled with players that have been at the top of European competition in Call of Duty esports for years. Some of them have even come over to North America to play on teams here. But when we saw they started making their roster changes and having chemistry issues towards the end of Stage 1 and the beginning of Stage 2, this is when we start to see this team fall flat online. If you think that their struggles only exist online, let's look at their performance at MLG Anaheim, where they placed top 20, alongside the likes of 100 Thieves and TSM. They went winless in their groups, and they were knocked out of the tournament just like that by Kingdom Esports, a Challenge Division team. But wait, let's pull a complete 180 here in the tone about this team, because they have such high skill ceilings and so much potential to be great. This roster is stacked with talent, but first, we gotta talk about Swanee, who for a long time now has been heralded as the best AR out of Europe. Swanee will 100% of the time be running an assault rifle, and rightfully so. He's got the best shot I've seen in a long time out of Europe. Now next up, you know we have to talk about Madcat. Madcat is a player that has seen more North American competition than I think everyone on this team, and he has been the best on his team in the time that he spent on North American soil. This guy leads the team in Search and Destroy and Uplink KD at 1.2 in both of those game modes, and if you just watch this guy, he's a freak. He's very mechanically gifted, and he's very hard to stop once he gets going. Millenium is a team of very recent and heavy struggles, but do not be surprised if they take down your favorite team at Stage 2 playoffs. Next up is Epsilon Esports roster of Reedy, Scraps, Moose, and Sunny B. They're currently 10-7 in the Call of Duty World League in Europe, and they're a pretty awesome hardpoint team. A main ingredient to Epsilon's success is the fact that they have Reedy, who is such an impactful and explosive player for this team. Madcat's even quoted saying that he could be the best if he could get past his mental game. Now, more on to the overall talent of this team. If we look at their hardpoint ability, they win almost every single time. And if they do lose, it's a very high-scoring game, and it's incredibly close. Their Search and Destroy gameplay is certainly nothing to scoff at, but once it gets to Game 5, these guys cannot seem to close it out against the top teams, and that's going to be a problem getting into Stage 2 finals. These are your lower 3 seeds going into Stage 2 playoffs for the European Call of Duty World League, and the seedings might switch around a little bit with Supremacy, as they have to play against Infused, and then Infused has to play for their bye round above Hyper Games, and it's just a bunch of stuff going on at the very last second. But these last 6 teams are locked in. Make sure you tune in to the next FPS Breakdown if you'd like to see the top 3 seeds. This has been FPS Breakdown, and you're watching esports on PvP Live.